All right, time now for We Said, They Said, the fallout from the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, as you can imagine, reverberating overseas.
Democrats, what we'll hear are complaints that this was a hurried investigation and not a thorough one, because it didn't even interview the two main protagonists.
All this drama has played out amid protests galvanized by the Me Too movement and its demands for greater accountability over historic allegations of sexual assaults against women.
The problem is the system, Other countries have retirement ages. The judges in the U.S., they're like African dictators. They die on the job.
So the president's mocking of accuser Christine Blasey Ford getting special attention as well.
The political storm next we are tracking in Washington over Donald Trump's Supreme Court pick. In a move that appears to break with the White House messaging, Donald Trump is targeting Kavanaugh's accuser, Christine Blasey Ford.
He's been respectful and disciplined when talking about Brett Kavanaugh accuser Christine Blasey Ford, until he soaked in the atmosphere at a campaign rally in Mississippi.
Strong opinions from several international outlets. The UK's Guardian with an opinion piece titled "The Kavanaugh Hearing Proves Yet Again the US Hates Women," saying, quote, "If you're a rich white guy with powerful friends, it seems you can get away with anything." And Israel's Haaretz said the ordeal showcases the death of truth and decline of democracy in Trump's America. Well, the battle over Kavanaugh has a long-term impact on how Americans see the Supreme Court and how they see the FBI for its role in the investigation of this new justice. To talk about that, I am joined by New York Times Justice Department reporter Katie Benner and former Executive Assistant Director of the FBI and MSNBC security analyst Sean Henry. Also with me here on set, former federal prosecutor and MSNBC Paul Butler. Guys, I want to start with the court here. Here's what Senator Mazie Hirono from Hawaii said this morning about the court with Kavanaugh now on it. Take a listen.
He's going to be on the Supreme Court with a huge taint and a big asterisk after his name. And the partisanship that he showed was astounding. And the conspiracy theory that he accused us of behaving in was bizarre.
All right, so Paul, let me ask you straight up how Americans are going to perceive, now that this Kavanaugh fight is over, how are they going to perceive decisions that come out of the court with Kavanaugh on it? Is everything going to be tainted, or are people, you think, the American public at large, going to discern every decision on its own merits?
Given the aggressive outburst that Judge Kavanaugh made at the hearing, I think that his opinions will be seen in some instances as illegitimate. He talked at the hearing about what the allegations of him being payback for the Clintons and for the election of Trump. We've never heard such partisan comments by a nominee for the Supreme Court. And so when we look at what's coming up, not this year, but soon, abortion. So Senator Collins has this fantasy that he's not going to vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. Well, we already have 4 votes on the Supreme Court right now for that. He will be the 5th. We look at gun rights. There was a law in D.C. that said that you couldn't own a semi-automatic rifle. Judge Kavanaugh would have struck that down. So on all those issues, affirmative action, voting rights, the power of corporations, the court will take a far right turn.
And this has been kind of considered the most conservative court since the 1930s. Liberal groups are obviously very much concerned about that, some even pushing for the Supreme Court justice to recuse himself on some of these cases, given the fact that his confirmation revealed this strong partisan, flavor, if you will, to the way he approached it. Do you think they can be successful in asking the justice to recuse himself on these decisions?
No. So the problem is that the rules that apply to other judges do not apply to the Supreme Court. So Judge Kavanaugh gets to decide for himself whether he needs to recuse himself. 2,400 law professors sent a note to the Senate Judiciary Committee and to President Trump suggesting that there's so many cases in which Kavanaugh would have to recuse himself involving women's rights, involving the Republican Party. If he decided a case like Bush versus Gore, no one would think that he was being objective.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Sean, let me turn a little bit to the FBI. The FBI in the first 2 years of this administration has been totally battered and hammered on all different kinds of fronts, but this one was very different in the sense that what the FBI was asked to do, how they were limited in scope and investigation. He had some rare praise. President Trump had some rare praise for its work following the confirmation, though. Take a listen to this.
The FBI has done an excellent job. They went through it, and they went through it 7 times. The FBI went through 7 investigations, and they did a very thorough job, excellent job.
So this is kind of ironic coming from a president who's kind of attacked the FBI and the Department of Justice and other law enforcement agencies for going after him, describing it a witch hunt, and undermining that process. Is there a concern, Sean, that the FBI could in fact be seen as now being used for political purposes as a result of this process, and could that impact their larger work going forward?
I think that is the case. You know, I've watched the FBI be maligned for the last year or so, and I think people need to understand what happened in this particular matter. The FBI, while some have said the FBI did a comprehensive investigation, they did not do a comprehensive investigation. They didn't do a comprehensive investigation because they didn't interview the alleged victim or the alleged perpetrator, but they didn't do a comprehensive investigation, not because they didn't have the ability, because they certainly could. They didn't do it because they were restricted from doing it. They certainly would have interviewed those people if this was an investigation about that particular incident. What happens is the FBI is akin to a contractor, and the White House is the client, and they provided specific investigative steps for the FBI to take. They did what they were told to do. When they came back and they provided information to the Department of Justice and to the White House, they weren't able to do any additional investigation. I can tell you that there are a lot of people who've come forward with additional information about this incident and others, some of the alleged or perceived perjury, misstatements made by Judge Kavanaugh while he sat in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The Department of Justice has likely got all those names and all that information. Even though the FBI wasn't able to go out and conduct those interviews, they've got them, and I imagine that will come out at some point over time.
Yeah, including the former classmate of Brett Kavanaugh at Yale, who has come out and said that the judge lied while he was testifying there. Katie, I know that there are reports